Examining and managing crisis projects. This is a case about crisis communication strategies involving one of the many cases that have happened in the world, and this is with the Tylenol case. Tylenol was a very successful product that was distributed over the counter in the US. Tylenol had good profits and good growth and was one of the leading painkiller companies next to Bayer, Anacin, Bufferin, and Excedrin. In the fall of 1982, someone replaced the extra-strength Tylenol capsules with cyanide-filled capsules and resealed the product and sent them for delivery all over the nation. When Robert Andrews, the assistant director of the company, had heard about the news, they couldn't tell the media immediately anything about the case, as they had to research what happened first. The company's first action was to alert all the consumers and customers across the nation by using different forms of media and notifying them of the possible dangers of taking this product until further notice. In doing this, they showed that the company did not want to take any more risk of any more lives because of some individual's actions. The importance of open, clear communication was used in this case. This company used new safety strategies to warn the customers and consumers about possible problems with the product. Every form of media had been notified and was focused on this Tylenol crisis, while Johnson & Johnson handled the situation very effectively in the disaster. The company looked for possible external agents that could be hurting others or the employees within the company through this act of terrorism. Johnson used sympathy, communication strategy, forgiveness methods, remediation, and rectification for the crisis. They also provided compensation, financial assistance, and counseling for families involved, even though they didn't actually do the tampering of the product. This company was not proactive but reactive, and they acted appropriately when they were needed to. Today, this company has overcome the problem that they had during the crisis, and they are working on solutions and suggestions to the problem. They now are able to reestablish their name and teach others in the company about how to react to negative situations and crises. Before any crisis strikes, one should think about the crisis, how it impacts its employees and others around them. A crisis can happen at any time, anywhere, without notice. The key to survival of a crisis is advanced planning. Regardless of the size of the business, you should have a plan, a spokesperson, and be very open and honest about everything that arises. Always keep your team informed, as well as open communications with everyone around you, customers, stakeholders, medias, and other suppliers. Keep everyone informed often throughout a project. A crisis, if not handled properly, can cause severe damage to a company or business. There have been many crises around the world, like Hurricane Katrina, Space Shuttle and Challenger explosion, Exxon, oil spills, and many other natural causes disasters. Regardless of the outcome of each one depends on how they are handled during, after, and immediately before the crisis begins. Now we go on to the questions. When a crisis occurs in a project, who should be the leader of the crisis team? On a crisis project, the executive project sponsor should actively be involved and may act as a project manager and corporate spokesperson for the crisis. This project manager should be ready for any crisis, whether it be bankruptcy, age discrimination, chemical-related accidents and incidents, drug or human trafficking, and other causes for a crisis. The list of different crises is endless. Improper knowledge and training leads to the successful prevention of crisis and the actions that may be required if one should occur. Everyone, including politicians, schools, everyone in public view should know how to communicate in the event of a crisis. Many crises are involved and require many hours of work and skills needed to take care of the crisis. Communication before, after, and during can save lives and prepare them for the situation. Number two, will there be a crisis committee or crisis sponsor management? In a crisis, the committee should be formed, and it usually consists of senior management at different levels, especially the higher levels of the community or the company. How important is effective communication during a crisis? Open and honest communication is necessary in any crisis situation. Always remember that crisis communication involves a lot more than just written documentation. It involves the actions and the words that are done throughout the entire case or crisis. How important is stakeholders relation management during crisis? Managing stakeholders without competing demands is very essential in any crisis. Should the company immediately assume responsibility for a crisis? I would say yes. The company must display a social consciousness as well as a concern for their people around them, the victims, their families, and other ones that may be involved in the crisis. How important is the response time when a crisis occurs? The way to reduce the crisis response is through corporate credos. Public support will increase and decrease the organization's credibility and reputation, depending on the supports and efforts provided in assisting aid and the solution for the crisis. An example of each one would be like Exxon, which failed to address the importance of public knowledge, which ultimately damaged the company's and business's reputation. However, like Johnson & Johnson, in this case, they showed that being prepared and ready to address a crisis and showing responsibility for public safety and how to improve it, and their ability to financially recover by showing this credibility of the company. Some of the other questions that we had in this lesson were, how important is it to show compassion for people that may be injured or involved in a crisis? Oops. The company, and especially as project managers, must maintain a close relationship with the media. The company must be willing to seek help from stakeholders and all possible government agencies. Corporate social responsibilities must be high priority than corporate profit. How important is it to maintain a paperwork trail throughout the crisis? It is important to know the different steps in handling any crisis. Most of them consist of three essential components, and they are basic knowledge, education, experience and training about the crisis. One must also have problem skills, solving skills, analysis, and strategic planning abilities. Remember, the key items to successful execution in a project management is the scope, the resources used, and the leadership management, as well as time, accurate documentation, and other information, as well as effective communication, which is needed in crisis prevention and control. How important is it to capture lessons learned? Lessons learned can be done through proper communication and documentation. when we record everything about a project and how it is completed, and any problems that may occur, as well as changes that could occur or have occurred. It will make the future projects better. Documentation can fall into management of project portfolio, organizational environment, and individual projects. Regardless of what is used for this case, it is important for the senior management to be involved in a project or a crisis. Any individual who has had a part of a project should be involved in the final documentation, surveys, and lesson learned report. Finally, I've listed the resources for this. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this particular course. Good luck to everyone. And any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.